Internews is an organization that's committed to empowering local media around the world. We really believe that when people have access to quality, locally produced, locally relevant news and information, they can make better choices for themselves, their families, their communities. And that's what we've been doing over the last 30 years. It's been our history and our work in over 70 countries around the world. This year we're celebrating our 30th anniversary, and rather than look back at all of our accomplishments over the 30 years, we really want to look forward to what's happening next, what will happen in the next 30 years in media and information and the impact that media and information have on communities and lives around the world. So a real focus for us in our work and everywhere is, of course, the impact of digital technologies and how it's changed and transformed media and information around the world. People, it's no longer working through just traditional media outlets, but everybody is a producer, everybody is a consumer, everybody can distribute news and information. And because of that exciting new development and sort of the explosion in our sector, we're everywhere around the world experimenting with new approaches, new ideas, new ways to actually advance this mission. And that's our real focus for our 30th anniversary. If you watch media in the States, for example, people feel a lot of dismay because it's so confusing out there. There's so much out there, and it's like a saturation of news and information, and traditional media is falling apart, and all the newspapers are collapsing and closing, and so there's a great deal of almost depression in the media sector in the United States. What we're seeing around the world, though, is because a lot of the countries in which we work never had a media sector the way the US had set up, is its optimism. It's like there's amazing opportunities and so much more that can happen. And so rather than seeing a collapse of the media sector, which is what we feel is happening in the US, we see an explosion of media sectors around the world. So that's very exciting, and it just is. It just gives me a lot of optimism for the future. There are challenges. I mean, how do you decide between all of this information? What's the best information? What's the most useful information? How can we, as an international organization, help find that useful information and make sure that communities have access to useful information? Our work has gotten much more complex. There's so many more options, and sort of choosing what the best thing to do at any given time is one of the biggest challenges we have. Internews, in the 30 years we've been working, we've gone through different stages. Our first decade, we were really just a nonprofit production organization that we were setting up space bridges between the United States and the Soviet Union in the 80s. And we're tremendously successful in setting up really new, innovative approaches for citizens of the US to talk to citizens of the Soviet Union directly via satellite communication for the first time. Our next decade was really about, as the Soviet Union broke up in Eastern Europe, the Berlin Wall came down, a blossoming of new independent media all around the world, and becoming sort of helping in new media entrepreneurs who wanted to build television stations or radio stations, helping them find ways to do that. And I think, tremendous success all around the former Soviet Union, and dozens and dozens and hundreds of new media outlets who somehow are connected to Internews, and we're very, very proud of that. In the last 2 decades, then, we sort of looked beyond the former Soviet Union and looked around the world where there were other transitions happening. A notable success in the last decade has been in Afghanistan, which, after the fall of the Taliban, there was no information whatsoever, no independent media at all, and we've managed to cultivate a network of 46 community-owned, community-run radio stations for the first time all across Afghanistan, and set up a non-profit production house that feeds good quality programming to these stations. So we're very proud of a very big explosion of the media sector in Afghanistan, one of the success stories in Afghanistan. And in the last few years, it's been turning media and information to solving some really critical issues facing the world: environmental degradation, health issues, humanitarian response, where we've helped lasso media into helping the world solve these problems that are global problems. And we're seeing a great deal of success there too. We're very proud of all of these programs. Thank you very much. We're very happy to be here.